Okay, hello everyone. So it's my pleasure to introduce you to the next workshop. Hands-on workshop is the impact of public funding in technology. So it's my pleasure to introduce Paloma Oliveira, who's a technologist at Sovereign Agency. So let's give a round of applause for her.
Yes. So you're my play testers of the day. This is a game I'm trying to invent to help people understand how this very complex thing we call the open source ecosystem do not crumble, and how it is everyone's responsibility and how everyone has a very important role to play. That's why I thought that a role-playing game would be fun. I'm skipping the intro because you have already heard from Adriana, that is the founder of the Sovereign Tech Agency. And I'm just giving a little recap because that will be part of the game. So we have a few programs. If it was not clear from Adriana's talk today, we have a few different programs. But the game, I will let you create your own program in case it's needed. And one is the fund, which is investing in open source, literally with money. The second is resilience, so proactive programs. The other is a challenge that she didn't mention, but where we proactively ask people to go ahead of their times and propose a solution for the open source ecosystem. This has already happened. Those are programs, they are real programs. And the other is the fellowship, that instead of commission and specific work, we are supporting and maintaining residency for 1 year. Cool. Those are the programs that we have already done. And this is the game. I'm calling it the Common in Crisis, a global open infrastructure negotiation game. And 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I need you in tables with ideally at least 5 people seated together. So we have 1 gamer, 2 gamers. Cool. It is cool if you have kind of something to take note, because you don't have the card. So the setup is like this. I wanted to feel what the digital infrastructure it is and how important it is to have some coordinations. And each one of you will be a stakeholder or a different player. And the goal is that how can we all survive this crisis and save the commons? But every time you propose something, you, of course, lose something. And you have to really embody your stakeholder to know how much you can lose from it. And know if you can or cannot support something. So you have a power profile, which is this one. I really don't understand how this works. Okay. Cool. And one of the players will be the Sovereign Tech Agency agent. And you will help to solve this crisis, proposing a program, whether this program already exists, or if you think it's really important to create another program, you create and you debrief at the end. So kind of simple. It should be fun. I will be around the tables as well. And this is the scenario. Very dramatic. The year is 2028. The world runs on open source code. Invisible, essential, neglected. You are the people who depend on it. The government, an industry, a researcher, a developer, and a citizen. And today, right today, something went terribly wrong. You have to decide how to react with limited resources, influences, trust, and time. This is the scenario you're at right now. And those are the stakeholders. So please choose your stakeholder. If you are a developer, this is what you have in mind. You are the one keeping the critical software infrastructure alive, but you lack any stable income. If you're from the public sector, and if you are indeed one of those, I would ask you not to play one of those, to be someone else. If you're from the government, you must guarantee the sovereignty, digital sovereignty, and the services continuity. If you're from the industry, you build with open source, but you, of course, prioritize speed and profit. If you're a researcher, you can produce insights, standards, data, the knowledge base for it. If you are from the civil society, you are the end user. But you can request and demand transparency or action from the government. And if you are the sovereign tech agency, you are the one that connects the pieces, and you will help out in this negotiation, offering one of the programs. But you need the people, one of the other stakeholders, to collaborate with you. And those are your coins, and you will play with this. You either have money, influence, trust, or personal capacity. And personal capacity is your time, your well-being, and this is one that you cannot trade. You either have it or you're burned out and lost it. And that's a superpower coin. If you happen to find a solution together that includes benefiting also the sustainable goals, you get extra points. Cool. So are you ready for the first round? Do you know who you are already? So we'll go back here to the stakeholders, and I want you to choose a stakeholder and define to your table. You have a minute to do that and say, I want to be this person. Okay, cool. So we're about to start the round. You already know your stakeholders, and this is a little bit just for the time's sake. You really embody your perspective and you fight for it. Huh? And then you have about 10 minutes to negotiate how to solve this crisis, what can you offer. And this is where you draw from the panels you heard today and from the stories you know personally to create more drama. And then you will propose things that you think could be real, but this is imagination, radical imagination, creativity space for you to create solutions that may sound absurd, but may work for you to solve this issue. So I want to be free to exercise a creativity space. And at the end, to solve this crisis and before jumping to the second crisis, I just want you to do a very little exercise of what have you done. Like nothing, we decided the atomic bomb was necessary to just kill everyone and that would be easier. I don't know, up to you. You decide the solution, but just summarizes. Are you ready for the first crisis? There's a critical vulnerability. A zero-day flaw is discovered in an open source library used by governments, hospitals, and industry. The maintainer is one person that is exhausted, unpaid, and unreachable. But the exploit begins to circulate in all of our softwares. What can you do in the next 24 hours? Those are the players, and this is your point of view. If you're a developer, after 10 years trying to adopt a baby elephant, you finally brought her home. She must eat every 2 hours and needs your full attention. If you choose to fix the vulnerability, her health may suffer or you may lose her adoption. Hospital systems would probably collapse. If you're the government, the critical services rely on this library. Citizens are demanding answers. Your cybersecurity officer lacks the direct contact with the maintainer. They don't know where to start. If you're the industry, your product depends on the broken library. You did not even know it was part of your tech stack because you fire all of your hospitals. And now your customers are calling and investors are absolutely panicking. If you're a researcher, you know that a year ago you have published something, and you did present it in one another conference, but the industry was never there, so it didn't reach the industry. And you lack the experience to actually solve it, and you lack access to the maintainer. If you are from the public society, doctors cannot perform surgeries anymore. All the data is closed, and the public health is a chaos. If you're the sovereign tech agency agent, you know the developer, you cannot patch the code yourself, but you can coordinate something to solve that. Things to consider. If you're a developer, you have to balance your personal life, but is it worth it? Have you built a community that could have stepped in and not let you be the only one to save it? Just remember that if you choose the token of your personal token, you will be burned out for the next round. If you're a government, how do you justify this emergency spending out of nothing because something you didn't know you should have done before? If you're the industry, what can you do about it? You can't spend money. What can you do? Cool. So those are the cards. Should I read it out loud, all of them? Because I'm just being redundant. But just paint a scenario that whatever you choose, you also lose something. I'll keep on reading. So if you spend the money as a government, you may restore the system, but you're already losing trust from the public. If you're the person, you may have a big mobilization, but you may lose credibility because you're demanding too much next round for the government. And as an industry, I think I said it all. Cool. Those are just like, I will create a new slide for us to have them on. But those are the things to consider. If you're a developer, you're very exhausted. This is the situation you're facing. If you're the government, you may have a bit of money. If you're an industry, you may have money, but then you have a cause. So the idea is that you play with tokens and situations, but that you discuss on yourself, with yourselves, what could have been done. Okay? Can I ask someone to be? You can be? Okay. Because this is a little helping hand for you, just for you, to help solve this crisis and get this conversation. You have a bit, because you are the one that has connection with everyone, you also have a few superpowers that, without telling them, you can try to convince them to get you trust or money or resources to solve this issue. Okay, solution number 1.
So we would start by hiring someone to take care of the baby elephant. So the maintainer can do his job because he's the best to do this. And academia actually wrote a report, but it was 1 year ago, and the report was about preventing the crisis, not to resolving the crisis. So there is not much to do for academia. So academia actually will be the person taking care of the baby elephant. So he trusts in, like the maintainer trusts in academia, and then he will work like happy and fast and everything. But actually, he would need an increase in monthly retainer because maybe crisis will happen in the future. So he needs to make more money on this. And also academia, after the crisis, will train another person to help because we cannot rely on one only person because of baby elephant and other things that happen in life. So we need another person to do this. And so we solve the crisis. The private sector is happy because their client is happy. And actually the fund spends money on hiring the person, training another person, so government is happy and civil society is happy because the problem was solved quickly.
But who paid for it?
The fund, sovereignty fund.
But there's no fund. The fund is not them. It needs to come from someplace.
Well, the private sector, because they are.
Well done.
That's their solution, and they agree, right?
Yeah.
Thank you. And what was your solution?
Well, we had the unique idea of a fellowship program. The industry has gratefully agreed to pay for it. And the developer is very, very demanding. He wasn't willing to do a quick fix. He was only willing to take a good long time to relax and look after the elephant and work on the project. And academia is keen to watch and ensure that he's doing a good job and that he actually does fix the vulnerability. And it might take a little bit of time. It's the only downside.
Okay.
But you can't make everybody happy, right?
That looks
We're
interesting.
curious as well what the journalists are going to say about it. We were missing a journalist card. I was wondering if we could
That's a good
have the
one.
newspaper show up outside his house and see what the developer does. Taking photos.
That's a really good one. Adding a journalist. And do you have a solution?
So what we have talked, what we have said is to the government, so the civil society goes to the government and asks for funding, so like shows the importance of this problem to the government and asks for funding. The government has a specialized agency for this topic, that is the Sovereign Tech Agency. And this agency has regular funding. So with this, what you were saying is that they can solve the problem with this funding, with the regular funding. And this is, that's all we have done, no? This is.
We didn't quite finish. I'm assuming that I have built a vibrant community as the developer / maintainer, and that we can fund some of the people who are already working on the project using the funding that's being provided by the government through the Sovereign Tech Agency to help fix this zero-day vulnerability.
Cool. What do you think about those? What do you think about those scenarios? Are they real? Like, if you think about real life.
I think that there were in the past like this kind of issues, like some maintainers get like very into a discussion with people who are asking them to fix things or to maintain things directly in the GitHub or in the GitLab account, and they say, I have my own life. I cannot do everything that you want at the time that you really want. And that's happening right now. I mean, we have seen it, I think, if I'm not completely wrong, with the SSL maintainer in the past, like a few years ago, that he got like very pissed off about someone asking him, you need to fix this out right now, and because it's going to be an issue. And
So my worry would be, in places like Germany, they have a sovereign tech agency, but in many other places we don't have one. So what happens if the government doesn't know how serious these issues are, or how much funding is needed, or how much expertise is needed for solving them? Then civil society doesn't really know either. So what I'm thinking is that maybe the Sovereign Tech Agency, or people who are interested in being part of a group similar to this group, must invest some energies in creating this awareness so they can get funding from the government and they can offer trust to the civil society. Otherwise, this is not possible. So otherwise, what will happen is that we are going to face these problems anyway, but the government is not ready, and they may or may not have money, but they don't have the expertise in-house for solving them.
Quite of a real scenario. Everyone a bit tired. We could do one more quick round of another type of issue that is different than this, or we can close up. You are in the same country and yours the same people, but it's a different scenario now. You solve this, everyone's happy, but another issue comes up. Funding freeze. There's a sudden, never happened before, just in sci-fi, sudden global recession hits, boom. Venture capital dries up, public budgets are frozen, donations decline, and small company collapse. The open source ecosystems are the ones who feel the shock. Volunteers were laid off and can no longer be volunteers. Community grants were totally cut. No money for community. No DEI word is allowed anymore. The pipeline of maintenance, documentation, and security audits, gone. How do you protect the open source intangible base when everyone is just worried about their basic needs? Solve it in 24 hours. Oh. And this is the situation that you're dealing with now. Developers, your donations platforms stopped paying out. Companies that used to use your code unsubscribed. You can take a part-time job to survive. You're already burned out in a few cases. But then you won't have energy to maintain your project. If you're a government, the parliament has frozen all discretionary fundings for 6 months. You're told to pause innovation grants. Yet the public digital service depends on many, many small open source projects, as you just solved it with the zero-day one. If you're a company, your company is doing a lot of layoffs, security and maintenance budgets are first to go. The CFO, it's like, why do you need to be sponsoring this open source? In academia, your national science funds stopped. The university hiring freezes. You have data proving open source infrastructure underpins the research reproducibility, but no one is listening to you. It's a crisis. Austerity measures. In civil society, users notice the outrages and blame public inefficiency. So they are on strike on the streets. You must decide whether to mobilize the more protests, self-organize, maybe a contributor tone would do, but you also don't have a job anymore. As the sovereign tech agency agent, you may be the last resource for critical infrastructure about to crumble, but you don't have the resources yourself. Dun, dun, dun. What do you do? Things to consider. If you're, if you're a developer, do you take a paid work, but then totally stop working on your project? If you're a government, do you relocate emergency reserves? Then what are you saying to the public? If you're an industry, do you do a fix with your engineering capacity for what is going on? But do you close that from your competitors so you have competitive advantage? What can you do? If you're in academia, can you use influence? Ija, solve it in 5 minutes. Okay, we have a possible solution in this table.
The industry is surprisingly generous on this table. And he's agreed, has agreed to fund developers. But what we really need is to understand why these dependencies are important, right? We need journalists to do their job and start writing about why do we depend on these things, who they are, who maintains them, and so on. So that was our solution, is industry pays anyway.
Okay, perfect. Very interesting. Why did you came up here? Or if you have just questions.
Mainly previously to take control of the software that the government owns and know exactly what to do if some piece of software broke. And with this knowing, act very fast.
So you were already very prepared for a crisis, without money involved, without building up. Okay, it's a very good solution for a sci-fi game. You can maybe not share and just share with the issues you face.
Yeah, no. We actually said that before, in the previous scenario, the government didn't really spend much, so we decided to spend now, and then we want to have to make people happy and not be angry, and then vote again for us. So we make the civil society happy, and we give the emergency funds. But the only thing that we wanted to agree that was remaining was how can we find the technical expertise from the private sector. So if the funds are enough to have this expertise, then it's solved in our
Otherwise,
view.
the industry I heard that didn't want to pay, different from that industry, this
Yeah.
industry didn't want to pay anything because they consider it a public issue.
Yeah.
So they were pushing to the government.
Yeah,
Totally.
so we are trying to use our money to convince them otherwise.
Well, thank you everyone for participating, and thank you.